Hey everybody, it's me, Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and I'm here for a daily chat with Jess Cassady. Jess, you want to introduce yourself for everybody who doesn't already know how awesome you are?
I am Jess Cassady, also known as Board Game Girl online, across pretty much all social media platforms, and you'll often find me streaming on Heavy Cardboard as well.
Yeah, you are very active in the board game industry. In fact, you have had an active day. Is it today?
Yes.
So tell us about your exciting day of Kickstarter, since we talk about that on here.
It was a very busy board game day today. Yeah, sometimes things all come together at once when you're working with a number of different publishers. So today, the first thing we had on the agenda was a Kickstarter for, I have it here because of course they do, Petrichor Cows. That went live this morning for Mighty Board. So we're doing a whole collector's edition with floating little clouds and area control, and then you have the cows expansion. So that's on Kickstarter. And then I also edit rule books. So another company that I work with and do marketing with, I was editing their rule book for PAX Viking, which was a previous Kickstarter that's still in late pledge for Ion game design. So they're finishing that up, and we're in final phase of that. So the development team is looking at it and making sure those final edits are all accurate and going through it. And so that all hit this morning, and that was kind of simultaneously going on. I'm editing Kickstarter pages and posting and comments, and it was a little crazy.
So you are someone who has worked in basically every aspect of this industry. You make videos, you've designed games, you help launch Kickstarters, you do development, You do rulebooks. What is your absolute favorite part? Do you have a favorite? Dare you tell us?
That is a really, really good question. Honestly, this is the same question to me when people ask me, like, oh, do you have a favorite kid? Because I have 5 of those too. I don't do anything small, as you can tell. And honestly, the honest answer is it depends on the day. So some days I'm obsessed with editing rule books, and I just love putting, I went to school for English and psychology, and I love putting kind of both of those to work, editing a rule book. And then some days I'm just done with that, and I would much rather be limited to 142 characters on a social media account like Twitter, and go and put something short and sweet and pithy about board games and do that, whether it's for myself or my dog has a Twitter account, Board Game Dog, with more followers than my kids, so he's doing well. Just promoting board games that way. So it really does depend on the day. And every time I do a Kickstarter, I say to myself, why do I do this to myself? I don't sleep. I'm never going to do this again. And then it ends. And I guess I'm an adrenaline junkie, because then I'm like, when's the next one? When we do this again? So, yeah.
So are you a lifelong board game lover, or are you somebody who got into board games later in life and just found the thing for you?
The answer is probably both to that. When I was a kid, played 31, which is like a variant of 21, with my relatives, and kind of killed at that. Learned how to trash talk from my aunts and uncles, and loved that. And Rook was my favorite card game as a kid. So mostly card games. My family played board games, but the same way that every family early on or back then played board games, where you pretty much just hated each other by the end of the board game because it was Monopoly or Sorry or something to that effect. So not well, but I did love card games. And then later on in life, I made some friends who introduced me to conventions and brought me to PAX East, kind of by way of comics, because I had a love of comics, and DC I'm a DC girl, but Marvel as well. And so kind of got into going to these conventions and playing games there. So Imperial Assault and Betrayal at House on the Hill and Dead of Winter kind of brought me back into the modern board game hobby.
That's fantastic. Also, yes, another DC person. I feel like Marvel is most people's favorite these days, but I will forever be a DC person. I've been loving that Harley Quinn animated show.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
It's fabulous. It is so good. I don't, you know, it's really, really good. I have been not totally happy with all the DC film releases, etc., but the Harley Quinn animated show is so good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I will definitely check that out.
So who is your favorite DC hero?
Oh, goodness. That's a good question. So I have, like, posters up on the wall I can bring up. So, like, I have, like, my Supergirl sitting here. I have Flash over on the other side. Wonder Woman. Yeah, I have a lot of posters.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it would be hard to pick between them.
That's fair. I will forever be a Batman person, but there's a reason for that. So, my father's name is Bruce Wayne Davidson.
That's amazing.
And when I was a child, like, you know how when you're a kid, you only know, like, 2 adults? Yes. So I absolutely thought that my dad was Batman, and my dad is a former newspaper reporter, so, of course, mixing up the different, you know, comic book lores as a kid, I was convinced that my father's job at a newspaper was a cover-up for his secret life as a superhero.
I love this. This is not weird. See, I knew we were kindred souls. So my dad's name was David Cassady. So, like, you know, we've got David Cassady, and then I have a long and sordid past. So my first husband, his name was Sean, and he took my name, so he became Sean Cassady. So I had this whole Cassady thing going on with that. But my dad was an accountant, and not a superhero thing, but I thought he made pencils. Can you guess why?
Why?
He stole a lot of office supplies. So he was always bringing home Ticonderoga boxes of pencils, so I thought he worked in a Ticonderoga pencil factory until I was like a long time. I just really, and then I was flabbergasted to learn he was an accountant. I was like, he was a what? Like,
hey, by that standard, all my students are also pencil manufacturers. But I give them the pencils, so it's okay.
Right.
Okay, we have a question from Kabuki Kid. She wants to know what your best non-superhero comic book recommendation would be. The best non-superhero comic book.
Goodness, best one. Saga. Definitely Saga, but I love Paper Girls too. That's another one I really, really love. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I have a lot of collections, but Saga is by far. I've introduced so many people to that. Yeah, it's really, really good.
Okay, that sounds like something I need to read. I mean, people have seen me enough on these live chats to know I love Sandman.
Yes.
It's fabulous.
Sandman, I totally forgot about Sandman, of course.
And I'm also really, like, I read Transmetropolitan a while ago, and I'd really like to reread that one, because I liked it. Of course, I like weird reporter stories, because my parents are both former journalists, so...
Right. Well, and your dad was Batman. Clearly.
Right?
So, yes, I...
Batman was actually my first Halloween costume as well.
Nice.
Yeah, you know, my parents are super cool. You know, my grandma made me, like, a little Batman hood, like, with, like, the little ears.
Yes.
And I apparently insisted I was Batman, and people would be like, oh, are you Batgirl? And I'd be like, no.
That would have totally been me, too. I actually remember dressing up as some superhero, and they always were asking if I was the other. And I was like, no. Why are you asking me? Clearly not.
Yeah, although, you know what, movies now have, like, way cooler female characters than I think the ones that you and I watched when we were younger. Like, I used to think that Indiana Jones was super cool. I used to, you know, when I watched Star Wars, I didn't really appreciate how cool Leia was until later, because I liked Han Solo.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, you kind of, I think as you get older, well, we've had, I also think we've just had cooler female leads in the years since we were into pop culture as kids.
Or just more to choose from. Like, Wonder Woman, I felt like was always good and did a great job, but then, like, they did a great job with her story, but they added so many layers to it, like, later on, and then there's just way more women that you see that you can kind of choose from, too, and find what represents you versus, okay, I have these three, right? Right.
I actually really did like the Wonder Woman movie. I think she's been a really cool addition to the DC universe.
Yep. She was really good.
Yeah. I like the Greek mythology connection as well. Can't complain.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was huge into mythology. Mythology is great. Like, there's just, Greek and Roman. I was like, whatever you got for me, this is good.
Yes, exactly. All right, so here's an interesting question. What is your opinion of the original Superman movie from 1978? I feel that it is still an excellent comic book movie that has tons of heart.
I don't know.
I don't
think I've
either.
ever seen it. I need to see this now.
Yeah, that movie's older than I am.
Right,
I need to go look that up.
Right? I will totally watch that. That'll be my next movie night. That'll be amazing.
All right, so we have a movie recommendation. We'll have to watch it and then come back and comment on it later.
I know. I got a comic to read already. I got a movie to watch. This is good.
Right? All right, so you mentioned that games like Dead of Winter and Imperial Assault got you back into gaming. What triggered your trend towards heavier gaming? You and I are both fans of the chunkier side of games. So what led you down that slippery slope?
Two things. One, I didn't want the games to end. I always hated the end of game night. So playing longer games seemed like a great way to keep people at the table. And, I was definitely the one that, we would plan a game day, a Saturday, put aside like 13 hours to play Twilight Imperium and be like, I would be upset if that one card came out that ended it after 6 hours. And I was like, no, wait, so we'll play again, right? Like, we're not done. This is terrible. And they're all like, yay, it's over. I'm like, no. So,
but it was only 6 hours.
Yeah. I'm like, but I got a day. What? So, yeah. I wanted longer games, but also gaming's always been about the experience for me. Hugely so. Like, I just want a really good time. And so when we're playing things like Dead of Winter and, that co-op experience where you do have to work together, talk to each other, plan things out, decide things as a group, it's super player dependent, but I like everybody being involved and really having that player interaction. And so I started to find that I got that more in some of the heavier games. So yeah, I played alone a lot as a kid. So I think now I'm like, no, I don't want to play. I want to play with everyone. Oh gosh, I played so much, like solitaire. Like I just so much. I'm constantly yelling to my grandmother, I won, I beat it. And she's like, no, you didn't. Like, fine, I cheated, but
yeah, what's so funny about that is that, I love game nights and game days, but I'm generally an introvert, so I do get peopled out, and I really like to play games by myself. But I also do think there's a lot of value to the social aspect. So speaking of surprises for people then, Gator Dave says, Jess and Liz, is there a shorter or lighter game that you'll always be up for playing that might surprise people?
Oh, I know it. Mine probably. I think I surprised people with my love for the mind, because I do have the claim to fame. I'm the world's leader in plays of the mind. So it right away became one of my favorite games. And again, that's about the player experience. And I know some people say it's not a game. It's definitely hugely player dependent. But it is. It's a huge experience for 100 cards that you're sitting there and just, trying to play in order.
Yeah.
And I just love that feeling and the way it comes across. So for somebody who likes heavier games, I don't know. I often feel like I get pigeonholed with that. And people are like, wait, you like, this other game or this abstract or this title, like, Riff Raff's one of my favorite abstract games, that you're building, and people are like, oh, you like stuff like that? And I'm like, yeah, those are still really fun and a great time.
Yeah, you know what? I've played the Mind a few times, and I thought it was really fun. I mean, I guess you could argue about whether it's a game or not, but if you are playfully hanging out with other people and trying to do an activity that has arbitrary rules and a goal, I mean, isn't that a game?
Yeah.
I mean...
Tic-tac-toe is a game.
Yeah. I think the game that I love that really surprises people about me, because I'm a little bit more introverted and because I like to play silly games, I love Time's Up.
Oh, Time's Up is
Time's
so
Up.
good. That is a really, really good one.
It's so stupid, and that's why it is amazing, because it like, you have to commit to playing it. And so it's one of those games that if you have people who are too shy or like too cool for school, the game isn't as good because then it's not fun. But if you have people who are willing to just be ridiculous and, you know, get really into it and care, then it becomes amazing. And so some of my favorite moments with my game group are just, you know, the little codes that you come up with to communicate things to each other.
Yes!
And just... I mean,
it translates to later. Like, this became a con favorite because, let's see, 2 years ago now, I went to almost 40 conventions in one calendar year.
Ooh.
And traveling to all these conventions, these people became like my family that I would see, you know, the publishers, the other media personalities, designers, developers. I would see them constantly. And really, it's kind of like going camping with them, right? Glamping. You're in this hotel, you're hanging out, you're playing games. And we would play the mind all the time. And some of the codes, does this ever happen to you with your game group? Like, you end up using them later as a joke. Like, you might refer to them or, like, be like, necklace. And they're like, I know what you mean. Like, it was like this whole code for what? The Wizard of Oz or something. But you're able to kind of translate that into your daily life with these people, and it's a blast.
Yeah, I kind of think that's the essence of what social gaming should be. I mean, and you can also get that in heavy games because there's always that time that, oh, you really thought you were going to win, and I had this move, or like, I got this roll and just killed you in that battle, and it was amazing, or, you know, it's the, people talk about games and story, but even though I'm a solo player and I'm interested in things like gaming and narrative, the story really comes from the stories that you tell each other about how ridiculous you were later.
Yep. It is. It's those memories that you're making and those experiences. I had a thing. Do you ever have games end up rolling into a different game? And what I mean by that is, like, so I had a game of Cosmic Encounter where my friend and I were playing. It was a 5-player game, but my friend and I were playing across from each other, and we ended up where we could tie for the win, but we both had cards where we could renege on our agreements. We had the same card, that card where you can like say, I'm going to agree, but then you break it. And we had power cards where we could beat each other. But instead of doing that, we kept our word, we showed our cards, and we won with a tie. And we always said, you get one in the future and I get one in the future, where we turn to where we're playing a game and say Cosmic Encounter, and we have to help the other person. Yep. That was our agreement. So it was a future rights basically thing. And then I was playing Junta, the Banana Republic game.
Yeah.
And I'm playing that, and I made my friend first El Presidente, and then I was like the accountant, whatever, and got her to squirrel away a bunch of money, and then she made me El Presidente, and I got a bunch of money squirreled away, and then this new guy, his name was Kenny. This is a premonition here. So Kenny's playing, first time at the game store, and Kenny decides he's going to do a coup. And so everybody gets into position. Everybody's coming at me, and it looks like they're getting in all the right places to take me down. And then it comes to the point where they have to declare El Presidente or Junta. And they all go around, and his face, they all go, El Presidente, El Presidente, El Presidente, El Presidente. And he's looking at me. Fine, that's fine. He was so done. We finished the game. She and I tied again. And all I had said to her, I forgot the key part. I said to her, Cosmic Encounter. And she was like, got it. And so we tied again. Kenny stands up. Nice game. Walked out, never came back to the store.
See, you can't take it personal. I mean, it's a game.
We weren't being mean. It was
also, I think that, okay, depending on who you're playing with and the nature of the game, I mean, I think if you're playing something really competitively and somebody's messing up that vibe, okay, that's not really right, you shouldn't do it. But if you're just a game night and you're having fun, I think there's nothing wrong with breaking the game in weird ways in order to have your own fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
it really,
that's legal.
That's the game, is you either vote Junta or El Presidente. He was just so sure. And honestly, I didn't know they were going to vote for me. I was like, maybe?
We got to introduce this man to diplomacy.
Yeah, He would. That's the thing. It's who doesn't like that. It's probably not the best first game to introduce somebody to.
I'm actually terrible at social deduction or, kind of convince other. Like, I would be terrible on something like Big Brother or any. I'm just not really great at the vote for me, politic for me sort of thing. But that doesn't actually stop me from playing, because if I'm just with my friends having it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, it's fine.
I highly recommend to you, though, because I'm the same way. I'm so bad at social deduction games. I trust too easily, and I trust the wrong people. And if you pigeonhole me, I get really defensive, so it looks like I'm guilty. So it doesn't matter. Like, I can't do anything. And I always warn people I'm terrible at them. But I've been playing now with, us being home a lot more and, playing games online, playing Werewolf in a Slack channel.
Mm-hmm.
It changes the game tremendously, because you can read and you have time to respond, and then you have a day in between, because you do it an hour maybe each night until it ends.
Right.
I highly recommend it to you, because I don't like social deduction, but I like it that way. It's pretty cool.
I do actually enjoy Werewords.
Oh, Werewords.
That one's
good,
fun, because I do better in social games where there's something to do other than be social, if that makes sense. I feel like Werewords. Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, let me play whatever kind of, like, if you're the werewolf or whatever, being able to manipulate the clues or look like you're really asking a good question is something that I take more naturally to than just, I will complete the mission correctly.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, man. Students love those games, though. Although I've discovered you have to really coach kids to play Spyfall well.
Really?
For example, because in order to make Spyfall fun, people have to know how to ask the right questions. So if you have somebody who asks really revealing questions, they spoil the game every single time. So it's really fun to play Spyfall with teenagers, because their first few games are typically horrible. And then they learn how to be more subtle.
Right.
And it's really fun to watch that whole process. But, a lot about teenagers. Do your kids like to play games?
Oh, yeah, my kids love to play games. And I'm amazed at how much they've picked up, because I learned early on not to force anything on them. Yeah. My kids love vegetables. They love broccoli. And, my friends know if we're coming for a party, they should have 2 veggie plates, because my kids will devour the vegetables. And the reason for that is reverse psychology. Again, I said I went to school for psychology. So I use reverse psychology on them. And I was always like, oh, no, this broccoli is for me. You have, the pasta or this or that. And to the point that they were like, no, we want some broccoli. So they love their vegetables, because for them it's like a treat. It's like being adult, right?
Yeah.
So same thing with games. I never pushed it on them. It was very much, I'd get a game in. It was something I had to review, something I needed to play. Maybe something I was developing, so I'm playing it a lot. And I would sit down to maybe play it solo, or just run it through as me against myself to see how the 2 players doing. And they would jump in. They'd be like, let's do it. No, we're in. And it wasn't until last year. Up until last year, I had a really good thing going where they didn't really realize they could team up on me. So I always won. I'd always beat them, and their goal was to just to get me out of the game. They were like, okay, mom won, let's play for seconds. And then they would just play. So their whole goal was basically I taught them the game, won, and went away. And they were happy with this. And then a year ago, my then 12-year-old realized that she could take the side of one of my siblings and help them beat me. And if they teamed up, my chances were not good. So I taught her PAX Premier 2nd Edition, sat down, and really I just wanted to play it. And I was like, come on, you're going to love it, da-da-da-da. I teach it to her. This is a game that when Cole Worley taught me this game, it took me at least 2 times. It was really on the 3rd play that it really made sense to me what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. She got it right away. And every time I tried to explain, so I'm going to say that I was a very good teacher, by the way, clearly, because she totally grokked it immediately. She understood what she was doing with the symbols and how to make sure she had, a good tableau and could do different things. And everything I did or tried to adjust, she'd flip it and block me and grab things and do the exact same thing. She would join the same faction as I was in, and all to make it not that so she would win, but so that her little brother and sister who were playing as a team as the third player would win. So she just kept giving them everything. And I was like, I mean, my face, I was just like, really? And she's like, and they beat me. I've never seen a score so high. I was like, I didn't think it went up that much. Okay, fine. All right. Yeah, she annihilated me. So, and these are the things I didn't realize she was picking up because I wasn't forcing it on her. I was really just playing in her presence or talking about it. And she would hear this. And I remember we went to a convention. I take them to conventions if they're local. And we went to a flea market at Granite State Con. And she walks up to a guy at a table. And I'm behind her. I'm looking at other stuff. She walks up and she's like, what's this game about? And he's like, well, it's a trick-taking game. Oh, great. I love trick-taking games. And Pitt over there, do you think you could put those together for me and we could do that for 10? And I was like, first of all, great bargaining. Like, I was like, nicely done. And then second of all, how do you know what Pitt is? And since when do you like trick-taking games? Like, I was like, what is going on? So yeah, so they love games, and I'm a little bit afraid. I think they're going to overtake me quite. They beat me now every time we play.
Well, given that rumor has it you have a huge win record on every game played with the heavy cardboard people, then I suppose we all have to take it sometimes.
Exactly. It's the cross image. Believe me, the guys on heavy cardboard, they like hearing this. They're like, "Oh, really?"
Aw. That's brilliant, though. Yep. I don't know. I sort of feel like it's always a delight when kids become better than you at things. Yeah, I really like it because it means that they're, the next generation's supposed to be better than us. So
it's true. No, I've taught them well. They're gonna crush me. It's good.
Awesome. My parents actually rewarded me the same way when I was a kid. Every time I did something good, they took me to the bookstore and bought me a book. So like that immediate association of like, I was good. I got a book. Books are good. Very early, very fast.
So smart, because then it's an award, a reward, right? Like, books are amazing if that's the case. Yeah, that's why I loved the library. The library was my free books. There's free books there. People, like, libraries are amazing.
Yeah, one thing is that I do in my teaching life is I try to never punish kids by giving them extra work. Because you don't want them to associate doing schoolwork with punishment, or else it'll never happen.
Oh. That's a really good point. Yeah, that's not the connotation there, whether you mean it or not, or even if a kid really likes a certain thing.
Yeah.
Once it becomes punishment, it's kind of broken. Yeah, that's not going to work.
Oh, yeah. All right, so we got a question. What is the oldest game you love, not counting old school trick-taking card games and all that?
The oldest, meaning like came out?
I guess, yeah.
So it's probably Conspiracy. Which I have a copy of back there somewhere. My good friend Andy Mesa gave me a copy of Conspiracy, which I believe was Milton Bradley back in the day. So I have an old copy of that. So Conspiracy is a pretty good old game. I mean, Cosmic Encounter is pretty old. I think we're at 75 at that, when that first came out. So that's pretty old. Yeah, those are probably my two old. Rook, though. I mean... Rook was always my favorite.
You know what? I've never gotten to play that. So I think my oldest favorite would be... I think it's probably... There's this game called Facts and Five that is... It's like categories. Okay. Basically you have different categories and different letters, and you're trying to fill in the grid, and you're trying not to have the same answer as other people. I think it's from the 60s, and my mom actually found me a vintage copy when I went off to college, because my grandparents had it and we used to play it, and I really, it's not what I would play now, but when I was younger, it was so fun to try to come up with creative book titles or names or whatever, just to try to outthink the adults around me. And I wasn't too bad at it either, and it was really a fun experience. And I just have so many warm memories of sitting around my grandparents' table, go have dinner at my grandma's house, and we would all play Facts and Five. And so the warmth that I feel when I think about that game, even if I'm not sure I want to play it right now, is so overwhelming that it's like my favorite anyway, if that makes sense.
That's the thing, because it's memories. It's that. And you just reminded me of Categories, which I didn't get to play with people. I would play by myself. When you had that, do you remember the big die that it came with? It was the 26-sided, every letter of the alphabet die. And
yes.
I would roll that and just try to fill out the thing as fast as possible by myself. It's a great solo game.
Yeah, I used to play Boggle that way too.
Yeah, Boggle was another good one. Yeah, oh, I was such a dork. I mean, I remember the World Book people came to my door, and I was so excited that my grandparents agreed to get it, and I read the World Book encyclopedia.
Yeah, I actually used to read the encyclopedia also.
Like, this is great. There's so many facts.
Actually, I was thinking about... That just reminded me of something. So I had a friend, I went to college in Chicago, and I had a friend who worked at the Field Museum for a bit. There's all these dinosaur skeletons, and she was explicitly told, when you give tours, you're going to have children who know more about dinosaurs than you, and you need to just be okay with that.
Yes. And acknowledge it. Be like, wow, you were impressive. Like, I did not know that. You just shared a fact with me. Yes, because kids love that they found out something that you don't know. And I think that's a huge motivator for them as well, to feel smart like that. It's huge. I mean, I used to play Fortnite with my oldest son, and he is so far surpassed me now that he asked me to play with him. And I'm like, dude, you're like a level 80. Like, I am in no way going to be able to like play with you, but he'll slow it down for me. I'm like, this stinks, because I was impressive at one point, but now he's so surprised, and he tells me about all the updates and stuff. But yeah, I'll just be like, wow, all of even if I know it, sometimes I'll be like, oh no, really, there's a new but because they like that's motivating, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And of course the opposite can be demotivating. Actually, I didn't play, so I played video games a lot as a kid. I remember when the Xbox was young, and, I'd never had the two sticks, one to adjust your view and one to move. And I went and played a shooter, it was like Halo or something, at somebody's house. And I got stuck in a corner, and they wouldn't give me a chance to figure out how to play, and they just laughed. I didn't play games for years. And then I saw Assassin's Creed Black Flag in one of my boyfriend's, Game Informer magazines or something when I was in grad school. And I was like, I need that. And I went and got a PlayStation 3, and boom! Back. I was back.
No, that's so true. I've never had a PlayStation. So recently got a PlayStation, and going in there and trying to do the controls. I grew up on Nintendo, and I'm so used to that kind of formation. Mm-hmm. I'm a mess. And it does demotivate you, because I can't fight, and I can't do the things, and I want to get better, but it's hard. I keep going back to Nintendo because it makes me feel better. I'm like, but I'm really good at these, I swear. And Sega, I can play. My claim to fame is I can play Sonic upside down, because muscle memory. Yeah.
Whoa.
So because my hands know. Yeah. I played it too much, is what that means.
Can you play it too much if you're still having fun?
I was still having fun. It's good. And it's super impressive. Like, kids are like, when I do it, like if I go to an arcade and it happens to have it, some of the ones that I've been to will have like an old little system set up, and I'll totally impress them by like sitting backwards and doing it, and they're like, whoa, like yeah.
That's awesome.
It's my one party trick.
I mean, I know you are busy, but do you have time for video games at the moment, or nah?
Yeah, I still make time for them. That's kind of my release. Like, it's hard for me to sit still and just watch a show. If I'm going to watch a show, I end up multitasking, and so then I'm not really relaxing, because I'll get back into work or social media or something. So video games are what make me kind of defocus from what I normally do as a job, and do something for myself. So whether it's, I'll make myself read too, because I definitely fell away from reading for a while, and it really relaxes me as well. So if I'm not reading when I'm relaxing, then I have my Switch and I'm playing Outer Worlds, or I haven't gotten into The Witcher yet, but now I have The Witcher on the Switch versus on the PS4 that I'm not as good at. So I'm going to tackle it that way with controls I know. And of course, Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah, I haven't played enough Animal Crossing. I've had just a lot of stuff that I had to do the last couple of weeks, and I'm noticing I really have the itch to get back and play.
Right.
And I still need to finish catching all the July fish and bugs. I'm like, oh no, I'm running.
I'm gonna run out of them. I gotta get there. Yes, they do keep you going. There's always something happening. Have you done swimming yet?
Yes, that was so cute. I love it.
Isn't it so relaxing? It's insane how relaxing it is. I'm like, I'm in the water.
Yeah, like the sound effects are really good. I really like to just get headphones on and just disappear. Yep. You know, the music is so relaxed. It's just, I know that people are like, oh, Animal Crossing is just doing chores. What a boring game. But I actually find it super soothing. And in what world do your chores get you so much other than in Animal Crossing? Because normally you do chores for absolutely no reward whatsoever. So...
Yes, exactly. And it's so, I don't know, I feel accomplished. I'm like, I've done this thing. My island is clean. Even if my house isn't. My island looks great. That's going to be the new sign everybody has. Like, you should see my island. Forget this place.
All right, so we have a question from Sean H. who says, Jess, do you like Mario, Link, or Samus?
Oh, ooh. I would say Mario's going to have to be my first love. I definitely did a lot of Zelda. I do like Link a lot, but yeah, Mario, he's my boy. I played so much Mario.
I really like Mario, but for me, it's got to be Link. I have so many good memories of A Link to the Past and Link's Awakening, and
that's true.
Ocarina of Time is it's definitely my top 5 video games ever. So, for me, it's Link. But I do love Mario, too. I have lots of good, especially Mario 64 memories.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And see, I'm behind the times because I didn't have enough money to, like, get the systems. Yeah. So I had hand-me-downs. So my friends would get new systems, and I'd be like, what are you doing with that? Like, I'll think that. I have an Atari with like 100 games and that sounds super cool, but at parties I'll pull it out and everybody plays it for about 2 minutes because it's so slow. And the joystick gets so stuck and you're like, oh, that's right, this sucks. Like, this is Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, you know, my mom, I think my most memorable Christmas gift ever was the year that my mom got Game Boys for my brother and me, because that was all we got, but that was also all we needed. Yeah. That was a fantastic Christmas gift. Yep. And so all we ever did, hang on, people are playing my game better. So you know, we played Tetris and we played, you know, Kirby, and those were good times.
Yeah. Yeah, I was obsessed with Pokemon, actually, on my Game Boy Color. Because same. I think my mom got me the Game Boy, and my sisters all chipped in and got me Pokemon. And I was obsessed. I just sat there. I think we went on vacation, too, and my mom was pretty unhappy about this. But, like, the entire time, I just played my Pokemon. I was like, I gotta catch them all. I don't care that we're at the ocean.
So... this is how you can tell that I've been living in the past, but I finally upgraded to unlimited data for our phone plan. And so I think the most exciting part about this is that I can now just go play Pokemon Go everywhere.
So good. Did you do the weekend thing this weekend? The fest?
No, I actually just, like, the plan just rolled over, and I was like, oh, I just realized what I can do with this. Oh, the powers.
Yay! And the amazing thing is, like, looking for a house, I was like, all right, where are the Pokestops? Like, and the house I'm in, we have 3, like, a trifecta, which creates a Pokemon farm, because you can just it's fantastic. So we have 3 Pokestops right there, and 1 I can access from my house. So it's just a constant spin and get Pokeballs. It's great.
That's awesome.
Highly recommend. Live near Pokestops.
I remember when the very first Pokemon Go, like, version, when it was first released, I think it must have been 2016, because I was in Rome, and I didn't have a data plan, but some of my friends on the trip did, and it was a bunch of Latin teachers and grad students, and we were at Pompeii, and somebody caught a Pokemon, like a Squirtle, in the ancient bathhouse. And I was like, oh, we're very scholarly today.
Yes. If there's people way back could only imagine what you were doing in the bathhouse. I'm sorry, we're gonna catch this Pokemon? They're like,
what?
You're doing what now? Show them the VR, and they're like, oh my god.
Honestly, I think an ancient person would probably just die of terror from being transported to the changes are so immense. Like, we take it in stride now, but history has changed more in the past 50 years than I think. I think the pace is just really accelerated. It's really amazing.
Well, this is why I like Doctor Who, because you get to go all these different dimensions, and even as yourself be like, oh wow, like here's this new world. Like, it's so exciting. Of course, not from him, because he's like thousands of years old, but for his companions. It's amazing.
All right, so speaking of a new world and change, Fred Perro says, what are your thoughts on what Kickstarter has done for the hobby and how it may or may not affect the future?
Well, Kickstarter's been around a while now, so it's definitely, I think itself, been impacted with ups and downs. And I mean, what it initially did was make it so we could get games to game tables that wouldn't have gotten made otherwise. Allowing designers to get their designs backed directly by the consumer and get things to them. Now, that comes with its own challenges, right? Because if you don't have experience in all facets of the hobby, you don't know what you don't know. So if you're an amazing designer, that does not mean that you know the business side. And a lot of people, you know, you're not coming into making games because you're really good at fulfillment. So these are problems that Kickstarters have had, and that's definitely had an impact across Kickstarter, not just in the tabletop side of it. But I think that's getting better, because there's definitely tools and services that even Kickstarter itself offers now to help with that, and to make sure, because it's in Kickstarter's best interest for those things to actually fulfill, and to the risk to not be that great. So that's getting better. It definitely, it does add more games to the hobby, and not necessarily all great ones, which is unfortunate. And I say that, I hate even saying that, because I think most games have the potential to be great, but it just comes down to, again, knowing all facets of how to make a game. It's not just design. The design can be tremendous, but if the development isn't there, if the rulebook editing isn't there, if the marketing isn't there, if the fulfillment isn't there, if the understanding of international shipping isn't there, if knowing how to get your game into distribution, if that's an avenue that you're going to take, isn't there, all of those things are really, really necessary to get these products out. So it's created a lot of opportunity, both for more games, which is great, but also for more mistakes and problems in the hobby as well, which is unfortunate on all sides. I mean, there's nobody creating these games and putting them out there that doesn't want the game made. Right. So, you know, it's bad on all sides when that happens. So.
Yeah, I feel that on my end as a reviewer as well, because, you know, when you get somebody's dream game, right? It's a Kickstarter. It's their dream. They really want it to come out. It's really hard to criticize something like that on the emotional side of things, because you know the passion went into it, and that maybe it had potential to be really great, but there were factors that just prevented that. And you have to be honest about it, because you're a game critic. But it also it hurts to, you know, have to be unkind to somebody's baby.
Well, and the thing is, too, it depends on where they are in the process. I always consider that when I'm giving feedback, because, again, you know, I wanted to learn about every area of this. So I dove into each facet. And so when I did development of a game, I was very clear to my playtesters, I need you to be brutally honest with me. And they would, some of them would check in, like, really? And I'd be like, no, the worst thing you can tell me is this game is great. I need you to break it, and I need you to tell me what's wrong. And watching even the things that they wouldn't say, just watching their experiences during the game and the player interaction. Is it really going well, or is it not? Is somebody having a miserable time? And it's not that I believe in perfect balance in a game. I don't. I think there needs to be some competition of decision making. So there has to be some place you can fail or make mistakes, or, somebody can do better than another. But I don't want it miserable either. And so you really have to learn what to take into account, what not. But the worst thing would be if I'm designing or developing a game and people are just telling me, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's great. And then it's not. Like, that's not helpful either. And what's worse, getting that kind of behind the scenes, like, hey, I'm seeing some issues here. You might want to consider this, or publicly putting it out there,
right,
and getting everybody to kind of pile on. So, it's also, I feel that kind of responsibility to be like, But then again, to your point, if a game's already made and now I'm reviewing it, I'm going to tell you my experience with it, how it hit me, but I am never also going to assume that how I experienced a game, even over multiple plays, because I'm not going to review it if I haven't played it 3 times, at least, hopefully more. But I'm not going to assume that my feelings are everybody's. My feelings aren't universal. They're my feelings. And so I can share that with you if you share feelings about games with me. But don't take me as a universal truth. And I don't think anybody should take any content creators or reviewers as, the be all end all. You need to analyze for yourself. It's just information.
Yeah. I mean, my opinions are amazing, of course, but no, I'm joking. Yeah. All right. So Gator Dave wants to know, who's your favorite doctor?
Oh, 10 is my doctor, by far. 4 was originally my doctor. So from the original series, it was 4, but then, and 9, when the series came back on, it came back on with 9, of course. And I fell in love with him hard. And I was really mad at the Christmas episode where David Tennant came in, and I was like, I'm never going to have another doctor. Nope, never. And by the end of that episode, I was like, oh, you're it. Okay. I'm all set. We're fine. He lost his hand. And, no spoilers, but it's so good. So good. So 10's my doctor, yeah.
I still need to get serious about watching Doctor Who. Like, I know enough to kind of understand what the show's about. I've seen some episodes, but I'm just not really committed. But I probably should. My stepson loves it, so.
So good. And it's a good thing to connect with others. My kids can't watch them all, but I'm rewatching, so probably in my 3rd go around with the new series. I did go back and watch as many as I could of the originals too, which, oh my goodness, the really, really old one. They'd use like old, Hoover vacuums as like props. It was nuts. But it's funny and like just really great to laugh at. Like, that's how it was. And as a kid, I wasn't allowed to watch it because my mom was a little nuts. My mom, I was trying to think how to say that with my long mom. She thought that the intro was hypnotizing people.
Oh.
And so we couldn't watch Doctor Who because it was hypnotizing people to do bad things. And so, I couldn't watch Doctor Who as a kid. But I went back and watched it, and I've enjoyed it.
Little did you know that the hypnosis at the beginning was by a board game. No kidding.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, man. All right, so speaking back to board games, let's see. Mintot1231 says, I just got here, but I'm very curious to hear Jess's thoughts on all the new Feld, Tuscany City Collection, etc. Are you excited? Are you trepidatious? How are we feeling about all the new Feld?
I mean, trepidatious is such a good word here. I think I have to use that. I don't have a ton of information on it yet. I've seen the buzz, and I definitely want to check it out. But no, I don't have a lot of details on it yet. But Stefan Feld, I mean, he's a master. So, and just a wonderful human being. I got to meet him at Essen last year. He's easy to spot at Essen. And he was a sweetheart. So absolutely want to check those out. Not necessarily usually my wheelhouse, I'll be completely honest, but not going to stop me from seeing what he's doing.
Awesome. Alright, and then Kabuki Kid wants to know, I know you're quite busy, but have you found time recently to read for pleasure? Do you have anything to recommend?
Reading right now. Oh, it's in my bag, so I can't see it. Let's see. I have Truth and Beauty by Anne Pratchett out. I'm reading on Audible the new not Terry Pratchett, Neil Gaiman just came out, so I'm listening to that with all the various artists. Again, I've read that as well, but and then I'm what was the Between the World and Me. That's the other one that I'm reading. That's my in-print book, because I usually have something in print, something is an ebook, and then I usually have I have a comic going too. Ooh, good thing we're at my desk. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is my comic right now.
Ooh, that sounds really fun, actually.
It is. It's actually really, really cute, and it had a dinosaur, so I had to go with it.
I mean, that's a no-brainer. So, man, I've spent my entire weekend working on the National Junior Classical League National Convention, which we put online. So I've been running online quiz bowl for the past several days, and then working on questions before that, with the team. And it's my first year as part of that team, so it was really cool. But I've been putting in these 10 to 12 hour days. So it's books, what are those? But now that it's over, I am going to download Empire of Gold, which is the third in the David trilogy. And if you've not read that, it is fabulous. So the first one's called The City of Brass. Let me look up what's the author's name again? Things I don't ever remember, because I read so many books that I just... S.H. Chakraborty. There we go. I'll put it in the chat for everyone. But it starts with this girl who grows up in Cairo. And she's kind of a trickster. She's full of mischief. She, but she also has these special powers, and she's not quite human. And then the series is about her finding out why, and going to this, fantasy kingdom where she actually plays a really important political role, learning how to navigate that. There's lots of drama. It's very good. I really like it. I cannot wait to read this.
It's got a very Star Warsy vibe, kind of, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's think something,
but in Cairo. I mean, obviously,
but also kind of Tales of the Arabian Nights or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a really nice trilogy. I like the first two anyway. The third book is 800 pages, but I think it'll be a quick 800.
Yeah.
Because I expect to just really see a bunch of plot threads get tied up and everything. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh man, reading. It's been a minute. Oh man, looking for any questions. Yes. Do you have a favorite game with a fairy tale theme? Best game with a fairy tale theme? Ooh.
Oh goodness, I'm trying to think. What would be a fairy tale theme?
I guess Once Upon a Time would have one.
That's true.
But that game is only as good as the people who are playing it.
Yeah.
Fairy tale theme.
Yeah, that's so weird. I can't think of...
No, because fantasy is big.
Yeah.
But fairy tales are not, really.
No, not necessarily.
I wonder if would you count something like Folklore as a fairy tale game?
I mean, I think of that more as tabletop adventure.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, but they wouldn't call it a fairy tale land.
Yeah. Somebody just commented 18 Tinkerbell, and I just really want to see that.
Yes. Can we have 18 Tink? That sounds incredible.
Forget You Can Fly. You Can Ride.
Wait, but maybe she has do we have Stardust? And so you could skip one track.
You know what? That'd be cool.
If you block, you can block me. Because that's where I always don't. I trust the other players, and I'm I'm going to be fine. I'm going to make it through this junction. You're not going to token it out on me, and then they token it out on me. And I'm I hate you with all my being.
Because the stock market is very much based on feelings of faith, you can clap, and then the stocks will go.
So true.
Hey, Ian O'Toole's in the chat, and he has a question for us. Hey, Ian O'Toole. All right, so are either of us fans of His Dark Materials, and did we like the latest TV adaptation?
I didn't watch the TV adaptation yet.
Me either.
And yes, I'm a fan, and I do want to watch it. So, Yes, I was psyched when that was coming out, and basically life just got busy, so I forgot about it. So thank you for the reminder, Ian. I'll definitely jot that down. I need to catch up with that.
Yeah, for real. I think I saw the first episode, and I did like that. But you know what? I loved his Dark Materials. That was one of the early series that I really got super into and identified with when I was younger. I liked it a lot. That was a really good one.
Yeah, it really, really is. I'm excited to see what they do with it, but I tend to just love book form better, so we'll see.
Yeah, there are very few situations for me where the TV show or the book, or the movie is better than the book. Yeah. I think The Godfather movie is better than Godfather the book.
I didn't read the book, so I wouldn't know, but yeah.
And I like Chocolat the movie better than I like Chocolat the book. But, okay. Also Johnny Depp was at peak Johnny Depp at that time. So,
so right there, hands down, I don't know.
But can you think of is there any situation in which you think that the screen adaptation is better than the page?
No, not off the top of my head. I cannot think of any situation where I've gone to a movie and said, yeah, they exceeded my expectations. But, I think that also comes to play with how familiar you are with reading, how much you enjoy it, and really how imaginative you are. I like to come up with my own stories. I like, I prefer that over being led. And I tend to question movies a lot. And watching movies, I tend to, with an English background and having read as much as I have as a kid, that was my escape. And I just read constantly. I tend to predict like any subtle foreshadowing, and I'm like, oh, he did it. Oh, that's this. Like, that doesn't bother me. I don't mind like knowing what's going to happen. I'll still watch it play out. But it does feel a little bit when I'm watching a movie like I'm reading the last page first. So the book tends to be better. I'm
actually the same way. I do, something about visual storytelling. The way that foreshadowing is done in it is like extra telling if you're really watching. Yes. Not always, but a lot of the time. Yeah, a lot of times I know the end of a movie way before the end. And my boyfriend likes to be like, did you know that would end like way? Or he'll ask me partway through the movie, what do you think? What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
But, I do prefer books, but I actually think TV's been amazing in the last while.
There are some good shows. Then there's the Great British Baking Show, which is just incredible TV. Have you watched it?
I have seen some episodes of that, and I really like them. I haven't seen it yet, but I really want to watch Nailed It.
I haven't watched it, but my kids were into that. They loved it because they just, it's kind of that kid humor, right? Like seeing someone fail at something. And maybe it's also, it makes them feel better. They're like, they know if they made that cake, it probably come out that way. So they're like, see, haha, adults mess up too.
I mess up all the time. See, I think Nailed It would be funny because I'd be like, yeah, me too. I'd be horrible.
Yes. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It makes you feel better about yourself, right? You're like, okay, that would be my rendition. All right.
Right? Like, oh, I'm not alone.
Exactly.
All right. So there's like 3 minutes left. We'll take 1 to 2 more questions. So Kabuki Kid says, what movie sequel or remake was superior to the original?
Oh, goodness. Movie sequel or remake?
Oh, I have one.
What?
You've Got Mail is better than Shop Around the Corner.
Ooh, see, I've never seen Shop Around the Corner, and You've Got Mail was one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, that's one of my comfort movies that I will just go back and watch.
Yeah. That was me. When I was in college, I would put on, it was old at the time, but When Harry Met Sally, I would put it on DVD, and I had seen it. I can recite lines from that movie because it was my background noise. So, like, it was something I was familiar with that would drown out everything else that I could ignore. And so, that was my thing that I would just throw on in the background. But You've Got Mail, I had to, so that would come out sometimes. Office Space was another one.
Oh, yeah.
Constant,
that's a good one.
Constant repeat. Yeah, so good. You need your flair.
I used to have a red stapler. No, I do have a red stapler. It's actually on my desk over there.
I'll say that sometimes. Oh, so we'll be streaming on Heavy Cardboard, and I'll be playing with Greg, or somebody will mess with me, and I'll say, like, under my breath, okay, but that's my stapler. Like, basically, like, I'm gonna get you.
So this won't be happening for a long time now, but I always, every time we pass out cake or something at a department party, I'm like, pass the cake, Milton. Look, it's all
so good.
Oh man, very good indeed. Oh, Ian O'Toole says that he thinks The Thing is at least as good as the book, probably better. I have a horrible confession, Ian O'Toole, which is that I've never seen The Thing because I've never stayed awake through the whole movie.
You fall asleep during The Thing?
Yes. It's happened 3 times.
Weird facts. What makes you fall asleep?
I don't know. Honestly, I think what it is that I'm not a night owl. I have teacher schedule, so I think what it really is that I've just had it started too late at night and just not been able to stay up through it.
And
I just need to set an afternoon.
That was playing. Well, on that note, I have things that make Jess fall asleep that are weird. Rado, he knows this, by the way, so I don't feel bad saying this. Rado makes me fall asleep instantly. It's like instant narcolepsy, and I would try to listen to his streams and I would just pass out. So it's great when I can't sleep at night. But I told him this at Essen like 3 years ago, and then he would follow me and he'd like come up behind me and just start being like, and I'm going to run through this with Jen. And like he would start with his voice, and I'd just be like, and like people were like, what is happening? Like, what? But yeah, it makes me so tired. His voice, it's so soothing. Like the way, yeah. So,
right. It's not insulting. It's just
soothing voice. The melodic tones of Rado make me fall asleep.
Oh man. All right, so sadly it is 10. Oh no. So we had to cut off for the night. But Jess, thank you so much. It's been so fun to just hang out for an hour, talk on the Dice Tower.
Great.
Thanks everybody for coming by, and I will try to watch The Thing.
I'll have to do it too. We'll watch The Thing.
Yes, we'll watch Superman and get back on it as well.
Yep. We got a to-do list now. It'll be great.
Jess, good luck with your Kickstarter. I hope that everything goes great. I know you're busy, but I also know that you will carry it off.
Yep.
Night, everybody.
Night.